Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am Snehi Kotak, and on behalf of the Conflux Rivista, I welcome you all to an exclusive conversation with Ms. Christina George on the theme Women in Journalism Opportunities and Challenges. The Conflux Rivista is a youth led platform aiming to explore opinions of the youth through stories, music, webinars, and other forms of art. Keeping in light the same, we have previously organized numerous panel discussions, workshops, open mic sessions, and other events on the platform. Speaking about TCI Youth Fest 2021, we have open mic session and about 15 panels in which we have invited people from all walks of life. In this particular panel, it's a pleasure to have you, ma'am.
Thank you.
She has
Okay.
worked with several media organizations in her past stint with the Indian Express. She extensively covered issues of human rights and gender. A master in gender and policy making course from Indira Gandhi University, Christina takes key interest in reading and writing gender intersections. She has been part of various gender debates and panel discussions over a period of time. Being a digital journalist, she's also closely studied social media algorithms and what goes behind a news to make it user friendly. Alumnus from Asian School of Journalism, Chennai, Christina is specialized in new media. She began her career in journalism as a news presenter with the All India Radio for a brief period in 2015. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay. So to begin with, I'd like to know about your journey into journalism and like what led you to becoming a senior journalist with leading daily.
I had never planned to become a journalist. I studied in a convent school with commerce subject. And then I was absolutely even not aware of this particular field, what goes behind this and how to get into this. But I knew that I was somewhere active in, writing and public speaking, and somewhere I was part of my school magazines. Even then, I chose to, deviate from what my passion is to something that, everyone wanted me to do. Everyone around thought that this is a prestigious career, so I should choose that. And I landed up taking up CA as my career, and then I did a BCom from JMC. And I kept attempting CA, but I was not clearing it. And that's when, while I was graduating, I realized that, this is not my potential. This is not something I want to do. I've been investing so much into writing, and I've been participating in debate competitions, and I know what is going around, and I have an opinion on what is going around, and I want to write about that. Then why am I sitting on a calculator and accounting? So that was this realization. That realization hit me so suddenly that, it just evoked all the passion that I had for writing, and for the society, and for, for things that were happening around. That the passion to know what is happening around drove me to the School of Journalism. And that's where I studied the principles of journalism, and I studied the basic ground rules of journalism, and what goes behind this, and what is what is more than mainstream journalism. We went on to cover deprivation, and we did stories that were not part of main newspapers, or did stories. We were the voice for the voiceless. And media is so powerful that you can assert rights, and you can give voices to the, you can actually let the marginalized speak, and you can actually let the marginalized be heard. And that is so powerful. And I think that is what drove me to be a journalist. And this is how I joined journalism, and Indian Express was my first job. And that's where I got placed, and I joined Indian Express. And even then I was not very clear on what beat should I pick up and what should I report, what should I not, because when we were out of school, we were grounded to what the principles of journalism is, and what the um, um, what the syllabus of journalism is, what we were taught, and what we were doing actually when we were on field was completely different. I thought that I will become a big reporter and I will go and cover ground stories and I will do crime stories and I will be part of so many big stories, but that was not the case. When I joined as a trainee, I was put at desk and I was doing side copies there. So yeah, that's how it has been, and a lot changed at Express. So I was joined with my male colleagues, and they were put on desk like crime, and they were put on desk like investigation, defense, and I was put on the desk of lifestyle, where I had to write on fashion and where I had to write on who is wearing what at which shows. That kind of news I had to write, or what is happening in entertainment. So for when I was a trainee, I was okay, I was just abiding by the rules. But as time passed, I realized, what is this happening? Why is this? There's this kind of you know a gap. Why are only male colleagues covering all the important stories, and why am I just made to do lifestyle stories? Why am I even a journalist if I'm just made to do who is wearing what? So slowly I realized this, and I tried to push myself, and I uh, picked a beat, and I started doing ground reports, and against the will of my bosses, and against the will of people, because it's very difficult for you to pitch an idea and get approved, because sometimes they just demean because you are a woman, and it's not important for you to go out. You can just do what you are doing it anyway. You're just being paid the same amount. So yeah, this happened, and then slowly I picked up my beat, and I realized, no, I'm not succumbing to what these people are imposing on me. I have my own idea, and I have to go ahead, and that's how I did a few ground reports, and got myself self worthy that I am capable of doing this, and that's when my journey started as a journalist.
I also feel that journalism is a demanding profession, and it's a new day, everyday job.
Yeah.
So, yeah, did you face any odds in pursuing it, or did you receive support from your family and people, or
So we live in a very patriarchal society, okay? And approach towards women has always been patriarchal. So when I stepped into the field of journalism, and when I was working on my week offs as well, and that was the time when I was doing my own stories, and the rest of the 5 days I was doing stories for the organization, and on week offs I was working for myself. There was time when I was not able to give time to family, or was not able to be part of social gatherings. And it has been always very challenging, because you have to be constantly alert on things. Even if it's like an 8-hour job, you have to be alert 24/7. You never know what will break when, and you never know when will you have to log in and work and cut a story or do a story. It can happen anytime. So that bit is very challenging. And it is very difficult to make family and people around you understand that this is your job, and this is very demanding, and you have to give it into it 100% if you have to achieve things. So yeah. So, I remember when I joined journalism, my parents were really happy that, oh, you have got a job with Indian Express, and we are very happy. 1 year into it, they had a completely opposite reaction to it. They thought that I was not able to give time to family, and I was, what kind of job is this? You're always outside, you're always on the field. Don't you care about your safety? What will happen to you? So some days I had to come back at like 2 o'clock in the night. Some days I was all night outside reporting. So yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, and it's difficult to make people around you understand that this is your job. Now, though they are used very much used to my cycle, but yeah, and then outside also the distant relatives and people around you. Journalism is a very bad profession for women. Women will never be safe in journalism. So many women journalists are being killed and threatened. So many women journalists are dying by suicide because they are being threatened of rape. And what kind of a profession is. And the ultimate their attack is that you're a journalist, nobody will marry you. I mean, nobody wants to marry a journalist because they can't be family oriented. So these kind of struggles I still face. I constantly face that battle because a woman is expected to be family oriented. They have to give time, and of course they can be, even when they are journalists. But it's just that you have to be understanding enough to you have to be understanding and cooperative enough. So that kind of challenges I faced. I even now face it. Girls have to be obedient. They shouldn't be out late. That kind of face challenges is a routine thing that I face every day.
Okay, so you write on the sensitive topics like human rights and gender. So,
Yeah, yeah.
how's your experience out there? I mean,
So I'll
that's a sensitive topic. So,
yeah, it is very it is, I don't want to call it sensitive, but it is so important that today mainstream medias don't consider it important. So at Indian Express, or if you go to Times of India, there'll be columns for Nation, there'll be columns for World, there'll be columns for City, there'll be columns for Defense, Aviation. There are so many. There'll be column for Business, but there will never be column for gender. There will be, when medias report that there are only 11% women in parliament, there are only so many percent women in leadership roles. What goes behind the houses of media is exactly the same. So they discriminate the same thing in their own offices. I haven't seen anyone in leadership role in my office or in media houses. Everyone. Uh, According to CNN reports, both women and men, no, more women join J schools to study, and they score even better than men. But when it comes to employment, only men are considered for leadership roles. So that's very demeaning and very ironical that when media houses project that they are very liberal, and they are very they are giving spaces to gender. What happens is exactly the opposite. And considering my point, when I pitch a story on gender or human rights, my boss says that, yeah, okay, do we'll just publish it. We'll just, even if it's a story that is recognized nationwide. So I'll tell you about this experience that I faced. I went to Haryana to cover elections, and I was covering election through women's perspective. And I went to one of the most backward districts of Haryana in Mewat, and I reported the health conditions of women and why women want why women want a women MLA to be elected, so that they can understand the women of Mewat, and they can do something for the women of Mewat. When I pitched this story to my boss, he said that, why do you have to bring gender in everything? That's what he said. And I was so angry about it. I was so sad about this that, I am surrounded by a male dominated leaders who just, who demean my work and who do not consider as gender as a mainstream topic. I mean, they were like, it's elections, just cover elections. You don't have to take a women's perspective. Why not? When the women are malnourished there, when they are anemic there, and when they are demanding for something, why shouldn't I cover them? Why shouldn't I be their voice? So yeah, we have had so many discussions on this, and we my male dominated bosses have tried to impose ideas on me, and had they tried to shrink my approach towards gender, so that they try to modernize it in a way. They try to improve it in a way that the gender topic is completely sidelined. So I don't know why this happens, but this is very, very challenging. In another story that I did, I tried to report women who were abandoned by their husbands, NRI husbands, after they took away all the dowry. And these women were from Ludhiana and Punjab. And when I reported the story, they published it and it worked well. But then one of the husband filed a defamation case, and when he filed a defamation case, I was very sure that obviously my bosses will back me. The story worked well, and this is a very important story, and obviously my bosses will back me and fight the defamation case. What my boss did was he um, cut off that story. He just chucked that story and he removed that story, saying that we cannot fight a defamation for such a small story. So I every day, face incidents like these, where your stories are not appreciated and gender stories are sidelined. And because of this only, you will see that in media houses, gender violence and gender parity is the reporting of violence of gender and gender parity is majorly affected, because a women's strength is always lower than, it is a male dominated newsroom. B, if at all there's violence against gender, or there's gender based violence, it's always the women who covers it. I mean, male cannot cover it because it's a women thing, it's a gender thing. So only violence is not the gender thing. If you take women in unorganized sectors or women in health, all of this is gender issues. All of this is gender issues. If you take up issues of pay parity, all of this is gender issues. You can't just push us to just cover violence, and they say, okay, we are covering gender, and we are like putting it out together. So yeah, it is very challenging, but if you stick to ground and if you do not succumb to what other people try to impose on you, you are good to go. If you believe in your idea, you should just go ahead and do it
I also feel journalists needs to be socially aware and updated at all the
all the
times,
time.
like
Yeah.
24/7. So how do you manage to be on your toes all the while and getting factual news to the readers?
It is so now though we have been in the newsroom for for some years now, so we know the tricks and tactics to find the news. We have on ground reporters, and we have sources that we have built over the time, and we are constantly we are following up on news at various different channels. So when I was working before the lockdown, when we were working in the office, we had like 10 TVs running around us, showing us breaking news, who's breaking first. And then we have tie ups with agencies also, like ANI, Reuters, we have PTI, who have large number of sources, and they have reporters who will bring to us breaking news. So that's how we track breaking news. And then how we fact check is we consulted with multiple reporters. within our organization, outside the organization, we will at least confirm it 3 times, and then only we will go ahead and publish it. So yeah, that's a full process of confirming the breaking news. So but it is so timely. Your journalism may, your story is altered if it's out of time. If it's a breaking story, if something is breaking at 10:30, you publish it at 11:30, it's of no use. So it is very altered. So you have to be on toes all the time. So I have my Twitter open, and I scroll it some 10,000 times a day to see what's happening, to see what's happening. And it consumes a lot of my time. It sometimes affects my mental health also. Sometimes I need, that is why you will see all the journalists taking up breaks every 3 months to clear their head and clear that space, because it's very challenging, it's very tough. You have to be on toes all the time. You are in conversation with multiple sources, you are in conversation with you are constantly looking out for news. You are on Twitter, you are on you are on 10 different sites. Sometimes I'm on 10 different sites, and I don't know where am I editing my story, or where am I writing my story. It's always a chaos, but we are used to it now, so it just we know how it works.
Okay, so uh, I would you like to share some memorable or toughest assignment you have ever undertaken, or which was quite
So my
problematic for you?
Huh. So during my journey at Express, my toughest story that I did was just before I told you, na, the NRI story that I pursued. I went to Ludhiana and I spoke to those women, and I understood the laws, the NRI laws. If the husband abandons you, then what do you do? If the husband takes away the dowry and abandons you, then what do you do? So, I was constantly learning and meeting women, and, I was meeting women, their husband and their family. It was, so it takes an emotional toll on your reportage as well. And we as a reporter cannot afford to be emotional at the time of while we are reporting, but it just happens because you hear such sad stories, you hear such heartwarming stories that you just don't know how to. Recently I went to UP, and met the family of the Hathras um, gang rape victim. And it was so sad to see their state. The case has happened, the case has been closed, but the family is still grieving. And the family may, the father, the brother, all of them have left jobs because they have to uh, you know um, they have to go around the courts to keep a track on what the case is, where it has been going. They have little nieces who are still afraid and petrified of what happened to their aunt. There are neighbors who still think that these people were Dalit, and that's why this happened to them. This was a case of caste atrocity. This was a case of honor killing, but this was not rape. And now people are not even talking to them, not only because they are Dalits, but now the girl child of the house was raped. So so covering such stories takes a mental toll, and you have to be very very prepared to take all the emotions from the people and put it into paper and write it down. That takes a lot of stress, and that takes a lot of courage, and you have to be fearless to write about such things so that we can bring it to the readers. So yeah, these were some of the stories that I faced. So when the NRI story was chucked out, I faced a lot of threat on Twitter. by the women, which was I could understand it, because obviously they were hurt because I wrote for them, and that story was pulled out. And when I told my boss that I've been facing Twitter lashes, and they are threatening me, that they are questioning my credibility. So my boss said that let it be, it will die down soon. And I was very very sad about the fact that I had to pull out my story. So yeah, sometimes this happens, your story works very well, and sometimes your story doesn't work because there is not enough back support. There are not enough people believing in you. But still you have to just move on, and keep doing what you like to do, and keep doing what you want your readers to hear.
A brief stint with All India Radio as well.
Yeah.
So, how do you feel these media platforms are different from each other, like the radio, the television, the print media, and why do you think the males are more preferred here?
So when we talk about print and television, um, they are the traditional form of journalism. You will see, even now you will see that on TV you will have a projection that there are equal number of women and there are equal number of male anchors. So many women anchors are on TV taking up news. But you will see the difference when all the prime times, all the major debates are given to male anchors, and early morning briefs or late night briefs are given to women anchors. So that is the kind of sexism and gender bias you might feel in television. Similarly, in print, you know, if you are if there's a story on defense, the preference will be given to a man to cover a story. If there's a story in the conflict region, a man will be sent, considering the women's safety and everything, despite women coming forward and telling that they can do the story. uh, Preference is given to a man to cover such important stories, because if it's a crime story, maybe a man should cover it, because it's easier for them. They'll just go around, quickly get sources and do it. तुम कहाँ जाओगी, तुम यहीं बैठो, तुम sideline stories करो, तुम बाहर जाओगे तुम्हारा safety issue हो जाएगा. These are the kind of uh, things that we face. So, which is why the hiring is also preferred for male. And, we have seen that women are generally at lower. They are at the lowest platform or at the middle platform, but they will never rise above that. And I still don't understand why that kind of sexism prevails in media houses, because many a times that we have seen that, not that I want to put down the male effort or the kind of work they do, but many a times we have seen that women outperform men, and they do pretty well, and they can take leadership roles. And why they are not allowed leadership roles is because as women grow old, they have more responsibilities at home. You have a husband, you have a kid to take care. Why do you want to take a leadership role? You're doing pretty good individually. Why don't you take just this will work for you, and you will be equally be able to give time at your house. So a male leader does not need to give time at home, or what? A male leader does not have to take care of his child, or what? A male leader does not have to work in the kitchen, or what? Is it just a woman's job? No, right? But that kind of sexism still prevails, and that kind of attitude still prevails. So a woman, to climb the ladder, she has to constantly prove herself. She has to constantly make people believe that she's better. While this is not the case with a man. You know, even if you're average, you are put up the ladder very easily, and you don't have to constantly prove that you are better or you're doing much better than other people. But for a woman, it's a constant battle, and that's why not only in media houses, in other sectors as well, we see very few women climbing up the ladder, because we still live in a patriarchal society, and that is the kind of attitude people around us have, that we might have to devote time to our family. Why can't a woman balance her family life and her professional life? Of course she can, as much as the man is doing. So what is the difference and difficulty? But I believe that it is slowly changing. uh, Considering I have been in the digital platform, I have seen the women workforce improving. I mean, even at Express, or if we talk about News Laundry, around 32 to 35% of staff are women. So yeah, we are getting there, but we are not there yet. We are not at the parity level. We are not at the equality level yet, where both male and female will be given equal opportunities. We can take up equal opportunities. So that we have to still work out. In radio, I had a very, very brief stint. I was only there for a month, and I was a trainee news presenter. Uh, there, as such, I mean, I'm not sure how, podcast is now developing. And yeah, this is something I also noticed, that, most of the podcast is done by women and not men. Why? Because it's just, you're behind the camera, so the women should do podcast. And if you're up from in front of the camera, then a man should host it. So that kind of prejudice and discrimination still is there, but it is improving. And a lot of women, there are exceptions at mainstream platforms, but not everywhere. So yeah, I hope that we reach that stage where a woman is not questioned for her time, and a woman is not questioned just because she has to take care of her family. Yeah, I mean, if a man is not questioned, then a woman should definitely not be questioned on that basis.
Yes. So I'd like to ask you that being a senior journalist,
Hmm.
would you consider this as a rewarding career, or and encourage more girls to join in or not?
Um, See, honestly, of course, it is a rewarding career, but it is a very, very slow process. You have to keep working hard. Sometimes you don't get recognized, even if you do the greatest stories. But, it is personally rewarding for me, because when I do a story which involves the marginalized, when I do a story which which helps the marginalized raise their voice and reach out to the government, it gives me a sense of pleasure that I have done something for them, and there will be action taken. So there was this story I did recently during coronavirus. A person died, okay, and but he was not given. A Christian person died of COVID, and he was not given a proper burial, a Christian burial. I mean, according to a religious faith, he was not given it. And I, being a Christian myself, I took out that step to write for the victim and against the church for their um, lack of sensibility to know what should we do if a COVID person dies. So when I reported that, I faced a lot of backlashes. I faced a lot of backlashes from the church, from the Christian community, saying that you are a journalist and you are demeaning our religion. You, being a Christian, you are demeaning your own religion. You shouldn't have done that. You have colored that story, and that kind of you face a lot of backlash. But when you realize that you have done justice to that victim, you have done justice to that story, you feel rewarding within yourself. It's very difficult for other people to recognize it. It takes that much of time and your effort. But yeah, it every day's, if you are passionate about it, every day will be encouraging with, some kind of stories that you want to do. So yeah, you lose hope at so many times because, it is not the career is not rewarding financially. It is sometimes not rewarding in terms of time also. It is sometimes not rewarding in terms of efforts that you put in. But still, it fails in front of your passion. So yeah, you keep working hard and it will reward you someday, is what I believe.
Yes. So, a quick piece of advice I'd like you to give the young journalists, the ones who are passionate about it and would like to pursue.
um I think, you should keep challenging yourself. You should keep challenging the people around you. There will be very so many people telling you that you should not do journalism. You should stick to engineering or mathematics or doctorates. Journalism is not a paying career. Journalism is not a many people will come and say that it's a bad career. You will have problems later in life. But I think um, if you are passionate about your career, if you're passionate about what you are doing, then you have to keep challenging yourself and the people around you, and to not succumb to people imposing their ideas on you. You have to have a straight goal and work on that, no matter how many obligations you face, because you will be faced with obligations. There'll be your mother saying that, oh my god, you don't have, what will you do with journalism if you can't take care of your family? There'll be a relative saying that, you're not marrying, what will you do? How long will journalism take you? There's no future to this, you have to stop working. Sometimes you yourself will be disappointed. You're working 24/7 and your bank balance is zero. You will be very, very disappointed in yourself. But I think it will reward you if you are passionate about it, and if you move forward with it. I mean, journalism is a great, great career, and it is the fourth pillar of democracy. And even though now um, it's completely in a way it's in power of the government, but there are so many other organizations who are doing great job, who are doing absolute ground reports. So it's important that we keep seeking inspiration from these.
So much for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Paki and Snehi. It was a pleasure to be here.